Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. In the interests of presenting balanced commentary, we are a group of representatives from Oil Corp International. I'm sure you've heard of us. Yes, and we're here to tell you why the planet doesn't need you anyway. So, who here believes in climate change? It's a myth. It's a myth.
It is a myth, yeah.
It's still just evolution and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely a myth because I read it in this paper, this Daily Mail, and it said it was, so that means it's a myth.
And even if it wasn't a myth, you know, all these wind farms everywhere, they're going to use up all the wind. Can you imagine a world without wind, ladies and gentlemen? It's a scary thought. And birds, they kill all the birds. Too many birds anyway.
Besides, with wind farms, they're planning on building one near my golf course, and I really don't want a load of hippies building a wind farm near my golf course. Who agrees with me? Yes, I thought so.
Yeah. And it'll ruin the view from my mansion, which I'm just not pleased with. But I've got a better idea. We're going to build a coal-fired power station and put it next to some poor people. That's sorted. Anyway, climate change is not happening, is it, guys?
No, it's a myth. It's a fake.
You're a bunch of smelly hippies anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, shave your beard. Anyway, everyone knows that climate change is caused by feminists, gay marriage, immigrants and pregnant teenagers anyway. So. Yeah. Oh, and benefits grounders.
Obviously, that's a load of nonsense and not what we really believe. Please don't go home telling everyone that Greenpeace thinks that gay marriage causes climate change. The truth is, the planet really does need you. Scientists have been studying the impacts of climate change for decades, but it's not just predictions anymore. It's happening right now all over the world with disastrous consequences. For over 800,000 years, ice has been a permanent feature of the Arctic Ocean. In the last 30, we've lost as much as 3/4 of sea ice cover there. It's melting because of our use of dirty fossil fuel energy, and the Arctic is in peril. Last month, we saw a record ice melt, and this is not a record that we can celebrate. This is a wake-up call from planet Earth. In the near future, the Arctic could be ice-free completely during the summer months. Some scientists are saying that this could happen as soon as 2016. For the first time since humans walked the Earth, we won't have an Arctic. So what? Why does it matter that the ice is melting? It matters because each and every one of us is affected by the health of the Arctic. People, polar bears, narwhals, everyone. The ice reflects much of the sun's heat back into space and helps keep us cool, having a critical role in regulating the temperature of our planet. We rely on the climate and weather systems to grow food, and without ice, this delicate balance will be upset and could cause profound regional and global changes in climate. Is it not close enough? Sorry if you couldn't hear me. The Arctic is one of the world's great ecosystems and an important life support system, leaving all species facing an increasingly insecure and uncertain future. Some see the melting Arctic as a business opportunity. Industrial fishing fleets are starting to trawl Arctic waters. A new oil rush is starting. Arctic nations are preparing for a possible conflict. The US has spoken of increased military threats, and Russia has predicted armed intervention in the future. They all want to stake their claim on the oil reserves there. Shell, BP, Exxon, Gazprom, Rosneft and others. The same dirty energy companies that caused the Arctic to melt in the first place are looking to profit from the disappearing ice. We've seen the extreme damage caused by the Exxon Valdez and Deepwater Horizon disasters, and we cannot let this happen in the Arctic. Dealing with oil spills in freezing waters would be almost impossible, and inevitable mistakes would shatter the fragile Arctic environment. The best way to maintain peace in the Arctic is to make its resources off limits. Oil companies are desperate to claim the oil that lies beneath the seabed so they can make more money by burning more fuel and melting more ice. It's a vicious circle driven by greed. There is no government or army to protect the Arctic, only countries and companies looking to carve up the ice. That's why Greenpeace are campaigning for a global sanctuary and a ban on oil drilling and industrial fishing. By stopping the new oil rush in the Arctic, we are creating the conditions for a radical change in how we power our lives, accelerating the green energy revolution that will fuel the future for our children. You can help us save the Arctic. We have developed a plan that can make this a reality if enough people join us. We know we're going up against some of the most powerful countries and corporations in the world, but we all rely on the Arctic for our survival, and we are in danger of losing it. This is perhaps the environment movement's biggest challenge ever. Greenpeace needs the support of millions if it is to save the Arctic from destruction by the oil industry. But we've done it before. Just over 20 years ago, Antarctica was at risk from industrialisation and militarisation. Greenpeace led the campaign to protect it, and now we're determined to do the same for the Arctic. That is why we want to take your name and millions of others to the North Pole with a flag for the future. We'll take your voice to every political leader in the world and ask them where they stand on the Arctic. One by one, as our movement gathers momentum, we'll turn towards the United Nations, where we'll demand a global deal to protect the Arctic. Just like in Antarctica, we need an Arctic Ocean dedicated to peace and science. No country owns the Arctic, it should stay that way. Please sign up. We're now going to illustrate what's been happening with our climate in the last years in a global weather report told through the medium of props and interpretive dance. There will be plenty of opportunity for audience participation, so please feel free to join in.
So we've got a volunteer here. I'm just going to run through some of the extreme weather events that happened this year, and you'll see that there's quite a lot. I'm going to start with, in Europe, we had the coldest period in the last 25 years. So we had the worst cold snap for a while, and you see, so we've got cotton wool snow here. Very good, very good. So now the fun part, I think. There was quite a lot of flooding that happened. Initially, in January, there was flooding and landslides in Brazil. Yeah. In February, there was more flooding in Australia. Then we had, in May, flooding in Rwanda. So thanks, Joanna, for volunteering for this. Then in June, there were torrential rains and flooding in China. In July, there was the worst flooding in 60 years near Beijing. In August, there was flooding in Manila. And finally, in August again, flash flooding and landslides in Bangladesh. You'll be happy to know that now I'm going to cover drought. So we've got hairdryers and towels. In February there was a drought in Sahel, and you would have heard a lot about the drought in the US between April and August that covered 60% of the country at its height. And finally in May there was the worst drought in 50 years in northeast Brazil. So now maybe for a bit of interpretive dance, we've got some wildfires that we've interpretive dance there. You feel free to join in, by the way. So so in January there were wildfires in Chile, significant wildfires. In March there were very early wildfires in the US. In June, these wildfires in the US covered over 1 million acres. So Fires. Yeah, that's no good. And yeah, that's pretty much most of it covered. If you've got any water left, this was the wettest summer in the last 100 years. In Scotland. I don't know if that's. Yeah. So that's a quick rundown, and there have been significant reports that link these to climate change. The more extreme weather events are happening because of climate change. That is all. We're moving on to something else now.
Alrighty, well, we've heard there's some pretty bad, awful things going on already. If we don't sort out climate change, it's only going to get a lot worse. But there is something we can do about this. We need to take action now and do what we can do. As Harold Zingler said, the optimism of the action is better than the pessimism of the thought. Yes, it's bleak, but here's some of the things you can do to make a difference if you want to get involved with our local Greenpeace group here in Edinburgh and help us save the Arctic before it's too late. We run stalls in Princes Street, events like this all over the place, where we take part in non-violent direct action, so shutting down petrol stations, for example, and climbing on the roofs of the Houses of Parliament down in London. We do political lobbying, speaking to MPs, MSPs, MEPs, fundraising, festivals, going into supermarkets and subvertising or stickering their produce, conducting surveys, workshops or training days. So please do come and take a leaflet, have a chat with us. We've got a stall just over there. You can even get your face painted, or just join us at our next group meeting, which is this Wednesday, 8 o'clock at the Beehive Inn on the Grass Market. So thanks very much.